Breakups are never easy. Feelings get hurt. Alliances get shattered. Who's on whose side? Paranoia abounds. And even when it comes to the president of the United States and his drug addict boyfriend, they are no exception. Put up this reporting from the Daily Beast. President Donald Trump is spiraling into paranoia after Elon Musk turned Vice President JD Vance into an existential threat to his power, author Michael Wolff said on the Daily Beast podcast. And, this is just a tale as old as time. It really, really is. When, you fall fast and furious in love, it's high times. You ignore red flags like somebody snorting ketamine on Air Force One, allegedly, and all of these things. You turn your head to red flags, kind of like you and I did when we were younger.
Got married.
With our husbands. Right. And then it's played out on the national stage. And we've always said during this campaign, Pumps, that JD Vance was playing a long game here. That he was put in this position, curated by the psychopath Peter Thiel. And he is positioned there and he is chomping at the bit, laying in wait for the not so spring chicken Donald Trump to lose it, have a medical emergency, get impeached, whatever. He is positioned and he is dangerous. And Musk exposed that vulnerability that is existing there. I don't know why Trump's so, well, I know he's so slow. It took him this long to get it, but he finally gets it now.
What's interesting to me is I've been reading all these reports that Donald Trump is really like down in the dumps about his breakup from Elon. And I'm like, he has no feelings. His wife has spent exactly like 4 days in the White House. He hasn't shed a tear over that. So I think it's the money. And then I go back to mutually assured destruction. They came right up to the line. He says he's in the Epstein files. In my mind, that's the least of Donald Trump's problems. Same with Elon Musk. So the mutually assured destruction makes them even more paranoid. And I will give you credit. You have been saying such jump. JD Vance is playing the long, long game.
Yeah, and I don't think his feelings are hurt. I don't think that's something that he would have like, oh my God, Elon Musk betrayed me. I think it's fear. I think the down in the dumps part is a fear-based feeling that he's feeling right now because Elon Musk, obviously, Trump can destroy Musk,
right,
with the powers of the federal government. And they've already hinted at that. Like, we'll impeach you. We'll start investigations. We'll make your life a living hell. Well, then Musk is like, okay, if you do that, then I'm going to tell X, Y, Z. And so it's mutually assured destruction all day. But just as a side hustle for Elon Musk, he has Tesla, he has SpaceX, he had Doge, spectacular breakup, the worst experiment ever in the history of the United States of America was Doge. Privately and quietly, the Trump administration is trying to rehire all of these people. Doge engineers have come out of the closet and said, I was shocked at how efficient the government ran. We barely saw any fraud, waste, or abuse. It was shocking. Of course, the people who've come out and whistleblown have gotten fired. Okay, moving along, Rolling Stone has actually uncovered some waste, fraud, and abuse that Elon Musk and Big Balls were unable to find. But Rolling Stone has put out this report. Pop this up. The administration is frivolously spending taxpayer dollars to stroke the president's ego inside the billion-dollar effort to make Trump feel good about himself. Trump's administration is marshaling vast public resources and more than $1 billion worth of taxpayer money to flatter the president. This is North Korea insanity, absolute insanity, that this man's ego is so fragile and that 77 million people are incapable of seeing a thin-skinned titty baby without even the media putting any spin on it. You can literally just watch a clip of him from today, from yesterday, from the day before, and the insecurity just reeks off of him. The grievances, not to mention, I don't even think we need to chipmunk his voice that much anymore on this podcast because it's so slow and he doesn't even sound like he's really with it.
Well, what's interesting to me about this is you had when he wasn't the president, someone ran around after him and printed articles that were positive about him all day long. That was her job. Print articles that flattered the president. This man is so insecure. And you look at this parade, for example, and it's like $1 billion isn't going to fill him up. $1 trillion isn't going to fill him up because he's incapable. He has a mental illness and massive insecurity that we could spend every penny in the world, every penny Elon Musk has, and it's not going to make him feel secure because he is pathetic. And I look at all these people that are triple Trumpers that don't see this, and I think they have to be massively insecure too.
This is waste, fraud, and abuse. It is fraud to even go along that anything that this man is doing or saying is remotely sane, right, or normal or democratic. And there is always this deference in society and within the media where people defer to these structures of the Republican Party, which is patriarchal, white supremacist, business above people at all times. And it's so easy for MAGA to bait legacy media into stuff because they can say, oh, you're biased. And then they start allowing these deranged people with a really horrific, corrupt agenda to define them. Instead of saying, we don't give a shit what they say, we are going to report what we see exactly as we see it. But instead, they engaged in this sane washing. The prime example is Jake Tapper, who wanted to go curry favor with the right-wing media by saying, oh, look at how different I am. I'm going to do an expose on Joe Biden, who's not even president anymore, who, when confronted about his age, said, you know what, this is hard. You're right. I'm not going to run. I mean, that story is over. Instead, we have this man who is the dementia that I'm seeing, and I'm not a doctor, but it's so obvious he has cognitive decline. His posture, I mean, he's just slumped over meeting with all of these world leaders. He's surrounded by insane people, contradicts himself from one second to the next. And the legacy media just, like, they still both sides this stuff. They still platform this.
I think when you look at what Donald Trump, if you just isolate what he's saying on Truth Social about Los Angeles, if you just take that little bitty example, he is not attached to reality. He is full delusional. Why aren't we talking about that?
But on Truth Social, that's intentional. That's intentional propagandizing. There's a difference. There's two things at play here. The MAGA movement intentionally propagandizes. What he is saying about Los Angeles, the gaslighting and the lying, is an intentional, competent authoritarian play, competent for authoritarians. Okay, a lot of you ask, how can we support your show? Subscribe, but also support our show by supporting our sponsors. And I have to tell you guys, I received the Revive Plus Max Growth Kit, and it is like a full-on hair care squad that works from root to tip. And this is from iRestore. I'm telling you, my hair is thicker, fuller, better. I just absolutely love this product. Thickening shampoo, thickening conditioner, and the growth activator serum are everything that I needed for healthier, fuller hair.
I just didn't realize in old age that you lost so much hair, but this whole system with the shampoo, the conditioner, the serum, and then you can wear the iRestore while you're doing household chores or watching TV, so it's not inconvenient.
Listener, give yourself the gift of hair confidence this year. For a limited time only, our listeners are getting a huge discount on the iRestore Professional when you use code IHIP at iRestore.com. Head over to iRestore.com and use code IHIP for our show's exclusive discounts on the iRestore Professional. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Hair loss is frustrating. You don't have to fight it alone thanks to iRestore. Then you have the interviews with him, like this one I'm going to put up right here, where he's not really propagandizing. This is just Papa out to lunch on a day pass from the memory care center. Play this.
I think important moment for this country. 2 weeks ago, I was calling people and back and forth with leaders, including President Putin, including French president, including lots of different people. And all of them said, we're celebrating victory in World War II. And I said, wow, isn't that amazing? We're the only one that wasn't celebrating, and we're the one that won the war. Now, Russia did help. They did lose 51 million people, in all fairness. People would say, oh, he's sticking up for Russia. No, they lost 51 million people. And, you know, we can't forget that. But France was celebrating. And as you know, Hitler made a speech at the Eiffel Tower. But when I spoke to President Macron, he said, oh, we are celebrating the great victory of World War II. And I think that's great that he was doing it. But we're the one that won it. And we weren't.
Okay. So this is where we just have the guy with the day pass from Alzheimer's nursing home, and he has a day pass and he's out at a table. This is him just completely rambling the signs to me of absolute cognitive decline. Mm-hmm. Hitler never gave a speech at the Eiffel Tower. That's a lie. You know, he is a admirer of Hitler. His ex-wife, that's now dead, reported that he had an issue of Mein Kampf on his nightstand that he read about. I think there's no question that a lot of the sycophants surrounding him in his administration are admirers of Hitler. But there are two things at play: intentionally propagandizing, and then we have batshit crazy dementia boy giving press conferences from time to time where he sounds like nothing about that was coherent. Like the United States doesn't celebrate World War II, the victory at World War II. It's just insane, divorced from reality. It's papa out to lunch.
Well, and you look at this and you think, why is nobody around him telling him the facts? He said this about the Eiffel Tower and Hitler before. And why aren't the people around him saying that is not true?
Because they don't care about the truth.
Because they don't care about the truth.
They just simply don't care. I mean, this is a fascist regime whose number one goal is to gaslight and propagandize the American public, so much so that they have all of these people that spent a decade or 2 decades talking about the dangers of a federal government, building their own militias, dry humping the Second Amendment, fighting for their gun rights because they were so worried about the federal military. And on a dime, now they're cheering for the Marines and the National Guard to attack citizens that are protesting egregious overreaches of the federal government because these people believe in nothing except for who they hate. That trumps everything. And in that mantra, they have found their common ally in that, which is Donald Trump. All right, that's all we have for today, and we will see you all later.